Rio Ferdinand has never been the kind of pundit to hide his emotions. And now, as England begin another World Cup campaign, one unforgettable BBC studio moment has come roaring back into the spotlight, a moment where Ferdinand was so stunned by a fellow pundit's prediction that he jokingly demanded he be removed from the studio. Yes, really. Take him out, Ferdinand said, after Ashley Williams made one mistake that instantly lit up the BBC panel. But this story is not just about one funny throwback clip. It connects directly to England's current World Cup journey, Thomas Tuchel's squad decisions, and one name Ferdinand still believes should have been on the plane: Cole Palmer. So what exactly happened inside that BBC studio? Why did Ferdinand lose it, and why is he now openly disagreeing with Tuchel before England's campaign has barely begun? Let's break it down. The moment goes back to the last World Cup, when Rio Ferdinand was sitting in the BBC studio alongside Ashley Williams, Gary Lineker, and Alan Shearer. The panel was looking ahead at the tournament bracket, discussing possible quarterfinals, semifinals, and routes to the final. For Ferdinand, the excitement was obvious. As the former Manchester United and England defender studied the draw, he could barely contain himself. He looked at the potential matchups and pointed out just how huge they could become. Spain versus Portugal. Brazil versus Argentina. Massive football nations. Historic rivalries. The kind of fixtures that make the World Cup feel like the biggest show on earth. Ferdinand called the possibilities unbelievable, clearly swept up in the drama of what might be coming. Then came Ashley Williams' turn. The former Wales captain was asked to look at the other side of the draw, the side that included England's highly anticipated quarter-final clash with France. And that is where everything changed. Instead of talking about England's path, Williams said the next matchup would be France versus Spain. In one sentence, he had completely overlooked England, and Ferdinand reacted instantly. He cut in, stunned, almost offended on England's behalf. What was Williams talking about? For Ferdinand, this was not just a small slip. This was England being erased from the conversation before they had even played the match. And that is when the studio turned from analysis into entertainment. Ferdinand jokingly said this was exactly why Ashley Williams should not be in the room. Then he called for him to be taken out of the building. The tone was playful, the moment was lighthearted, but the reaction was pure Rio Ferdinand, passionate, emotional, and completely invested. Gary Lineker and Alan Shearer were there as the exchange unfolded, and the clip became one of those classic World Cup studio moments, half football analysis, half live television chaos. But 4 years later, the conversation around Ferdinand has shifted from jokes about predictions to serious questions about England's squad. Because England have now opened their latest World Cup campaign, Wales, this time, are not involved, after failing to qualify. And Ferdinand has turned his attention to Thomas Tuchel's decisions. The biggest issue for him? Cole Palmer. After England's squad was announced, Ferdinand made it clear that he did not agree with Tuchel leaving Palmer out. He was careful to say he respects Tuchel. In fact, Ferdinand spoke warmly about him, saying he likes him and has spent time with him before. He described Tuchel as someone who simply loves football, someone who can sit down and talk about the game in detail. But respect does not mean agreement. And on Cole Palmer, Ferdinand says there is a major disagreement. This is where the debate becomes sharper. Ferdinand believes Palmer has already shown he can handle big moments. He argued that Palmer can be part of a squad, can come off the bench, and can still make an impact when the pressure is at its highest. And Ferdinand pointed to one huge example. Palmer scored in a Euros final. That matters. For Ferdinand, this is not about picking a player based only on talent or hype. It is about a player who has proven that he can step into elite-level situations and influence them. Then Ferdinand added another point that makes his argument even stronger. He said Palmer has already succeeded in the United States, in the kind of heat and conditions England may now face. At the Club World Cup, Ferdinand said Palmer was not only successful, he was the best player at that tournament. So from Ferdinand's point of view, Palmer understands the environment. He knows the landscape. He has performed in those conditions. And yet, England did not take him. That is the part Ferdinand cannot accept. He said that if there was one player he would definitely have taken a gamble on, it would have been Cole Palmer. That single line says everything. For Ferdinand, Palmer was not just another possible selection. He was the one risk worth taking. And that creates a fascinating tension around England. On one side, Thomas Tuchel has made his call. Managers live and die by those decisions. On the other side, Ferdinand is asking the question many fans may now be thinking. If England need a spark, if a tight match needs one moment of creativity, if the pressure rises and the bench becomes crucial, will they miss Cole Palmer? That is the drama now hanging over the squad. Because at a World Cup, selection debates do not disappear. They grow louder with every match. One missed chance, one flat performance, one moment where England needs something different, and suddenly the Palmer question comes back again. And Ferdinand has already made his position clear. So, from a hilarious BBC Studio throwback to a serious World Cup squad debate, Rio Ferdinand is once again right in the middle of the conversation. 4 years ago, he was jokingly calling for Ashley Williams to be removed after England were ignored in a prediction. Now, he is challenging one of Thomas Tuchel's biggest calls. The tone may be different, but the emotion is the same. Ferdinand believes in England. He believes in big moments. And he believes Cole Palmer should have been part of this World Cup story. The question now is simple. Will Tuchel's decision be proved right? Or will England reach a moment in this tournament where everyone starts asking the same thing Ferdinand is already asking? Should Cole Palmer have been there? As England's World Cup campaign moves forward, that debate is not going away. It may only be just beginning.